What if the story you've been told about saving money, the discipline story, the willpower story, is missing the most important part? Not wrong, exactly, just incomplete in a way that costs you. The conventional wisdom is almost universally held. Save consistently. Spend less than you earn. Delay gratification. The people who struggle to do this are, by this logic, simply choosing poorly, trading their future selves for a moment of comfort today. Financial advice has built an entire industry on this premise. Budgeting apps, savings challenges, the 50-30-20 rule, all of it rests on one foundational assumption: that the gap between knowing you should save and actually doing it is a character gap, a discipline gap. The solution then is obvious. Try harder, want it more, build better habits. And there is something true in that framing. Habits matter. Intentions matter. But here is where the mainstream story quietly sidesteps something it cannot easily explain. Finita Blairstein-Shrewdanawi. If this is purely a willpower problem, why do so many people with genuine financial knowledge, people who understand compound interest, who have read the books, who know exactly what they should be doing, still find themselves unable to save consistently? Why does the gap between intention and behavior persist even when motivation is high? The conventional answer tends to be circular. They didn't want it badly enough. They lack discipline, but that is not an explanation. That is a label. And a label on a problem is not the same as understanding the problem. Here is what the research actually shows, and it complicates the willpower narrative considerably. When you face a financial choice between spending now and saving for later, your brain is not running one calculation. It is running two, simultaneously, in competition. Research from 2004 identified something that has held up under considerable scrutiny since. Immediate rewards and delayed rewards are processed by partially distinct neural systems. The limbic system, older, faster, more emotionally driven, responds strongly to things available right now. The prefrontal cortex, more deliberative, more abstract, is better equipped to represent distant future outcomes. This is not a metaphor. These are measurable, separable responses. But crucially, they do not operate with equal weight under all conditions. The temporal distance of a reward changes how powerfully your brain registers it. A financial gain available today feels substantially more real, more vivid, more present than the same gain available in a year. Behavioral economists call this delay discounting, the tendency to value future rewards less as they become more temporally distant. But here is where the measurement trap becomes relevant. Most of the research on delay discounting, and there is a substantial amount of it, uses hypothetical binary choices. Would you rather have $10 today or $15 in a month? These are clean, controlled, useful for establishing baselines. Simple handwritten question on white paper. But they are not the conditions under which you actually make financial decisions. Real financial decisions involve uncertainty about whether the future reward will materialize at all. They involve identity. Who am I, right now, in this moment? They involve emotional states that shift. A 2020 study on what researchers called the delay-reward heuristic found that people's behavior in these experimental tasks is shaped by expectations about what kind of choice they are being asked to make, not just pure temporal calculation. In other words, the lab version and the lived version may be measuring something related, but not identical. That distinction matters more than the field is typically acknowledged. A laboratory setting with a researcher observing a participant through glass, emphasizing the gap between controlled experiment and real life. So what does the evidence actually establish, carefully? A 2014 study in developmental cognitive neuroscience examined how caudate responses, the caudate being a region involved in reward anticipation, correlated with delay discounting behavior in healthy young people. What it found was that individual differences in how strongly this region responds to anticipated rewards predicted willingness to wait for larger future rewards. This was not a finding about character. It was a finding about neural architecture. Architecture that varies across individuals for reasons that have nothing to do with moral fiber. Research published in 2017 added another layer. It found that metabolic state, specifically blood glucose signaling, influences delay discounting. When the body's energy resources are perceived as low, the tendency to prefer immediate rewards increases. This is not metaphorical hunger affecting your choices. It is a biological mechanism that shifts temporal preference. The implication is quiet but significant. The same person facing the same financial decision may show meaningfully different behavior depending on physiological state. A 2022 study linked delay discounting to activation in the dorsal anterior insula, a region associated with interoception, with the felt sense of internal bodily states. Impulsive financial behavior, in this framing, is partly a function of how strongly you feel the present moment, not how much you want the future, how intensely you inhabit right now. More recent theoretical work, published in 2024, goes further. It argues explicitly that self-control and temporal discounting are not the same construct, that conflating them has been a persistent error in how the field has framed the problem. What looks like poor self-control may be, in at least some cases, a different relationship with temporal uncertainty, a different degree of trust that the future will arrive as promised. This matters enormously for how we understand financial behavior, because it relocates the problem. It is not simply that some people value the future less. It is that the future feels less real, less certain, less present to them, and that feeling has measurable neural correlates. What the evidence does not establish, and this is important to say clearly, is that willpower is irrelevant. It is not. Deliberative processes do influence behavior. The prefrontal engagement that delay discounting research documents is real, but the clean story in which self-control is the primary variable and failure is primarily a matter of insufficient effort does not survive contact with this body of work. So what does this mean for you practically? First, it means that if you have struggled to save consistently despite genuinely wanting to, despite understanding why you should, you may have been diagnosing the wrong problem. The issue may not be that you lack discipline. It may be that your neural and physiological conditions in the moment of decision make the future feel less real than the present. That is a different problem, and different problems require different solutions. Automatic transfers, for instance, work not primarily by building willpower, but by removing the moment of choice entirely. They bypass the competition between neural systems by ensuring it never happens. That is not a hack. That is an application of what the research actually shows. There is also something worth noticing in the language we use. Saying I can't save money and saying saving money feels less real to me than spending it right now are not the same sentence. One is a verdict, the other is a description of a mechanism, one you can potentially work with. When you change the frame, you change what interventions even become visible to you. And from a longer view, imagining yourself looking back from 20 years out, the financial decisions that feel enormous right now may resolve into a simpler question. Not, did I have enough willpower, but did I build systems that made the right behavior easier than the wrong one? The future self does not care about the struggle. It cares about the outcome, and the outcome is more achievable when you understand the actual mechanism you are working with. The future self does not care about the struggle. It cares about the outcome. And the outcome is more achievable when you understand the actual mechanism you are working with. Here is where I land, reluctantly. The willpower story is not false, but it is dangerously incomplete. And incomplete models are not neutral. They direct effort toward the wrong leverage points. They make people feel like moral failures when they are, at least partly, running up against biology. At the same time, the neuroscience does not excuse inaction. It does not mean the future is impossible to weight more heavily. The research on deliberation, on what happens when people slow down and mentally simulate outcomes, suggests that engaging the prefrontal system more fully does shift choices. That capacity is real. The unresolved tension is this. We do not yet have a clean account of when biological architecture is the dominant factor and when deliberate effort is. Those two explanations are not mutually exclusive, but the field has not yet mapped exactly where one ends and the other begins. That question is still open. And I think that honesty is worth more than a cleaner answer. The research behind this video draws from Science, New York, New York, Judgment and Decision-Making, Physiology and Behavior, Developmental Cognitive Neuroscience, Alcoholism, Clinical and Experimental Research, Current Opinion in Psychology, Journal of Managed Care and Specialty Pharmacy, Frontiers in Behavioral Neuroscience. Every claim traces to a published source. Full citations are in the description below. If the way this channel thinks about neuroscience resonates with you, subscribing helps this work reach people who'd appreciate it. New videos on the science of mind every week.